As I said, Michael is here. What's Israel doing?
They're moving across the border. We don't know how far, but they've certainly created an incursion, and they're concentrating on Metula in the east. That the border is 75 mil long, and it's easier to move in the western part of the border towards the coast, because the terrain is easier. The further east you go, the more mountainous it is, the more rock you've got to deal with, but that's where they're most interested in, because that's where Hezbollah's tunnels are. That's where a lot of the rockets come from. So they're moving, we think, towards Metula, and it will be tough. The Israelis were not sure what they've committed to this yet. We were fairly sure that the 998th Division is there, which is armored forces, commando forces. That's their tough fighting division. It's probably their leading division, and they look as if they've got elements of maybe another 8, maybe even 12 brigades moving across the border, potentially 25,000, maybe some have said 40,000. I think that's unlikely when you look at the total number of armed force that they can put onto the ground, actually ground forces, but I mean something closer to 25,000 is more realistic, but that's twice as many as they deployed in 2006. You know, when they began the war that lasted for 34 days, and they rapidly had to reinforce to about 30,000. So what's the mission? The mission, I think, will be to try to clear Hezbollah out of as far north as they can go. If they can get to the Litani River, then that's a natural stopping point. Push Hezbollah effectively north of Litani, but that's quite a big ask. I mean, that's quite a lot of miles, and it's honeycombed with tunnels. The Hezbollah, however, disrupted Hezbollah are by this last couple of weeks, and they are very disrupted. They're at 6 and 7s, no question about that, but individual Hezbollah units have still got their weapons. They are probably in the tunnels. They will fight. It'll be more of a guerrilla war than anything more organized, probably, but it'll be a tough push for the Israelis, and interestingly, a high proportion of this force look as if they're going to be reservists, and they can only serve for 3 months, and after that they have to go back to their jobs legally, and also as a matter of economic common sense. So the Israelis would be looking to do something quickly and before the winter really sets in.
And the symbolism of the Litani River.
If they can push Hezbollah north of Litani River and then disrupt Hezbollah north of that in the cities, in the TI and in Beirut, particularly in southern Beirut, I think they'll keep on doing that. Whether they go north of Litani, I really don't know. That would be a big ask, and to be honest, is the UN resolution. UN resolution 1701 of 2006 says that south of the Litani should be a demilitarized zone, and it never has been. There's a UNIFIL force, the United Nations force in Lebanon, which is supposed to enforce it. 10,000 troops not doing anything. I mean, they're observers, and they observe that the resolution is not being enforced. There's nothing they can do. And that's what Israel's point has been. Say, look, we've got a UN resolution. If you won't enforce it, we'll enforce it. And there's some logic in that, even though it will cause a great deal of suffering, and the Israelis will not stop attacking Hezbollah in Beirut and further north if necessary, whilst the 5 million people in Lebanon, and 1 million of them now are said to be displaced, and they're moving north, and that's going to create tension, because the people who are being displaced from the south are Muslims in the south moving towards Christian and Druze areas in the north. That won't be a happier relationship if all these people are becoming desperate. So Lebanon is in deep trouble, and Israel will their action will make it worse, but the Israelis will think that they can do this quickly. I don't know if they can, but that's what they seem to think.
Just being told that, the Lebanese Prime Minister has just said that the country is facing one of its dangerous stages in its history.
Yes, and he's absolutely right. I mean, he's been saying that for a couple of days, and he's right. I mean, Lebanon used to be the Switzerland of the Middle East, before 1972, 73 it was multi-denominational, it was rich, it was prosperous, everybody loved going to Lebanon, and it was destabilized in 1972 when the Palestinians were kicked out of Jordan and they went to southern Lebanon and destabilized the country, and then the Israelis intervened in 1978. That didn't go very well. They intervened in 1982. That didn't go very well, didn't withdraw fully until 2000, enter again in 2006. That didn't go very well, and what's happened is that and Hezbollah only become into force in only become an organization in 1982. They are created by the Israeli attack in 1982, and so Lebanon has been increasingly destabilized. It goes back to the 1967 war with the occupied territories. All the Palestinians were pushed out of the occupied territories in Pales, the area of Palestine. They went into Jordan. They destabilized Jordan. The Jordanians, King Hussein of Jordan, kicked them out in 1970. They all went to southern Lebanon, destabilized southern Lebanon, and Lebanon has been it's been a maelstrom of chaos and confusion, sadly, ever since, and the Lebanese government has almost no power over anything. Lebanese arm is the weakest force in the country.
Hezbollah are foot soldiers for Iran. Yeah, what are they? What's Iran going to do about this?
We think probably not very much. The Iranians have been making statements, even in the last 48 hours, that they don't intend to get involved in Lebanon. I mean, they are ditching their allies. They haven't supported Hamas as much as Hamas thought they would. They don't look as if they supporting Hezbollah as much as Hezbollah assumed, but they're there to fight the war for Iran so that they don't have to. The Iranians, their policy has always been low risk, to use proxies to do for them what they want to do. So the Houthis, Hezbollah and Hamas, it now looks as if this is what the Israelis are saying. Look, if you really pressure these people, the Iranians won't do anything, they won't help, and that's why, though the Israelis think they're on a roll, now they think they've dealt for now, with Hamas notwithstanding 2.3 million people rattling around in a destroyed Gaza, and hostage is still being held, and the hostages are still held. They think that they can hurt Hezbollah. They probably can't destroy them, but they can hurt them enough to push them back for a few years. They're prepared to take on the Houthis in Yemen. They're prepared to take on the militias operating on behalf of Iran in Syria and Iraq, and they think we are demolishing all of the proxies, and the Iranians are too weak to stop it, and in a way they're almost goading the Iran. Say, on what are you going to do about it?
The $64,000 question is, what will Israel do about Iran? Because we heard the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on TV yesterday saying yeah, we've got you in our sides. That's
right, and he said, if you try to attack us, we can reach you. We've shown we can reach you repeatedly. We can even assassinate somebody right in your governmental compound, as they did with the head of Hamas, with Han, during the inauguration of President Pezin. And so yes, they are threatening the Iranians, and the Iranians are in a crisis, in a governmental and Pezin, who's the president, the new president, is something of a moderate. He wants to get back on terms at the Western world, but Ayat Ali, the supreme leader who has the final say, 83-year-old, he won't last for, or 84, I think won't last very much longer, but he is much more aggressive in his orientation. So there's a power struggle going on inside Iran, and the Iranians seem to be very reluctant to get pulled into this, and I think Israel perceives that this is our moment. It's almost like we're almost a year away from the October the 7th of attacks, the atrocity of October the 7th last year, and it's as if the Israelis, they've taken the hit and they've come back and said, okay, our existence is at stake. You thought you were going to make war on us as a whole, as a nation. We are hitting all of our enemies at once, and what Netanyahu's argument is, we have no choice now. All of our enemies are ganging up on us, so we will deal with all of our enemies simultaneously now. Whether that's a good policy or not, it's a policy that keeps him in power. He's more popular now than he's been since October the 7th. Israelis on the streets are very buoyed up by this. It might all end very unhappily for them in southern Lebanon, but at the moment, there's this sense that we, the Israelis, after a year, we're back on the front foot, and the Iranians don't know what to do. Thanks for watching this video.